Hello, my dear deep divers, my curious friends. Welcome to a special investigation, the case file of the greatest mass murder in our planet's history. 66 million years ago, in a geological blink of an eye, 75% of all life on Earth vanished forever. The undisputed kings of this planet, the dinosaurs, after a reign of 165 million years, were completely wiped from the face of the Earth. The story we've all heard is simple and cinematic. A giant asteroid came from space and ended everything. But tonight, I want to take you deep into this case file, to a place where the evidence tells a different story. By the end of this video, you won't just know what angrily killed the dinosaurs, you'll discover that history's greatest killer had an unexpected and incredibly powerful accomplice. If you learn this secret, your perspective on our planet's history, and even the sky itself, will change forever. Let's close our eyes and go back 66 million years. Imagine you're standing in a hot, humid forest in North America. The air is heavy, saturated with the smell of decaying plants and damp earth. The sounds you hear are unlike anything today. The screeching of unknown creatures from the tops of giant trees and the heavy, thudding footsteps that make the ground beneath you tremble. Suddenly, from between the enormous ferns, a majestic Tyrannosaurus rex emerges, a 14-meter-tall predator that, with every step, declares its dominance over this lost world. This was their world. A world that seemed eternal. The common belief is that one day, just one fateful day, it all came to an end. But the truth, as always, is far more complex, darker, and more fascinating. This is not the story of a lone killer. This is the story of a cosmic and terrestrial conspiracy. So, let's investigate the crime scene together. Suspect number 1, the killer who came from the sky. It was the 1980s when a research team led by a father-son duo, Luis and Walter Alvarez, made a shocking discovery. All over the world, precisely in the geological layer corresponding to the time of the extinction, they found a strange clue, a thin layer of clay abnormally rich in an element called iridium. Iridium is extremely rare in the Earth's crust, but it's abundant in asteroids and meteorites. It was like a cosmic fingerprint left at the scene of the crime, a chemical signature from an extraterrestrial killer. The theory was explosive, but it was missing one thing, the murder weapon. Where was the crime scene itself? After a decade of global searching, scientists finally found it, a giant scar, 180 kilometers in diameter, buried beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The Chicxulub crater. Precise dating showed this wound was inflicted exactly 66 million years ago. The case seemed complete. But what was the mechanism of death? It wasn't just the initial impact that caused the extinction. The real catastrophe began afterward. Imagine a rock the size of Mount Everest hitting the Earth at 20 times the speed of a bullet. The energy released was billions of times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. This impact vaporized rock and blasted unimaginable amounts of dust, soot, and sulfate aerosols high into the atmosphere. This is when the real disaster began. The impact winter. A thick, black blanket of debris enveloped the entire planet, blocking the sunlight. Not for a few days, but perhaps for months, or even years. Without sunlight, photosynthesis stopped. Plants on land and phytoplankton in the oceans, the foundation of all food chains, began to die. The Earth's temperature plummeted. A planet that had been a warm, humid greenhouse was suddenly plunged into a rapid and ruthless ice age. This wasn't a quick death. It was a slow, agonizing collapse for the ecosystems. The dinosaurs starved and froze to death. It seems like a clean and complete story, doesn't it? One killer, one weapon, one bad day for the planet. The case seemed closed. But diligent geological detectives, while examining the Earth's layers more deeply, noticed something else. Another suspect. A suspect that had emerged from the depths of the Earth itself and had been poisoning the world long before the asteroid arrived. Let's travel to modern-day India, to a region called the Deccan Traps. What we see here is one of the largest volcanic features on Earth, but erase the image of a single conical volcano from your mind. We're talking about flood basalts. Massive fissures in the Earth's crust, some hundreds of kilometers long, that split open and unleashed hell on Earth. For hundreds of thousands of years, these fissures relentlessly poured out lava, so much that they covered an area larger than modern-day India with thick layers of lava. The total volume of lava is estimated to be over 1 million cubic kilometers. These massive eruptions didn't just spew lava, they were suffocating the planet's atmosphere with toxic gases and manipulating the climate in a maddening way. They launched a two-pronged attack on the Earth's climate. On one hand, by releasing vast quantities of sulfur dioxide, they created aerosols in the atmosphere that reflected sunlight. This caused short but intense periods of global cooling and acid rain that poisoned the soil and oceans. But on the other hand, and more importantly, these volcanoes pumped unimaginable amounts of carbon dioxide, the primary greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. This CO2, unlike the sulfur aerosols, remained in the atmosphere for a very long time, trapping heat like a blanket. The result? A long, relentless fever for the Earth. Fossil evidence from Antarctica shows that in the 400,000 years leading up to the extinction, the Earth's temperature had risen by 4 to 5 degrees Celsius due to the activity of these very volcanoes. So now we have a more complex crime scene. The world of the dinosaurs, before the asteroid arrived, was not a healthy, perfect world. It was a sick planet, suffering from severe fevers and chills caused by relentless volcanic activity. Proponents of the volcanism theory argue that the dinosaurs were victims of a slow and prolonged death. They were being poisoned by their own planet, and the asteroid merely delivered the final blow to a dying world. This is where the story gets controversial. Some scientists, like Professor Gerda Keller of Princeton University, make an even more shocking claim after carefully studying the geological layers in Mexico. They say that the Chicxulub impact actually occurred 200 to 300,000 years before the mass extinction, and that it caused no significant die-offs. From their perspective, our famous asteroid is an innocent suspect who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So now we have two main suspects, both powerful enough to destroy the world, both active at roughly the same time. Was this just a terrible cosmic coincidence that the Earth was attacked simultaneously from within and from without? Or is there a larger conspiracy at play? Wait, you might be asking, what does this scientific debate between geologists have to do with our lives today? The answer is everything. This isn't just a story about dinosaurs. It's the story of our planet's fragility. It's about the tipping points and thresholds that, once crossed, have no return. This planetary history is our survival manual, because the forces that destroyed that world, global warming from carbon, sudden climate shifts, are being recreated today in a different way, by us. Understanding this 66-million-year-old murder case is vital to understanding our own future. And now we arrive at the most shocking part of this case. The point where the lines between our two suspects blur, and an astonishing truth reveals itself. What if these two suspects were not rivals, but were working together? What if one of them activated the other? This is the turning point of our story. A new and bold hypothesis proposed by geologists at UC Berkeley suggests that these two events were not just simultaneous but interconnected. They believe the seismic energy from the Chicxulub asteroid impact was so immense that it propagated across the entire planet. Our planet rang like a giant bell. These shockwaves passed through the Earth's crust, reached the deep mantle, and violently agitated the magma plumbing system beneath the Deccan Traps on the other side of the world. The result? The Deccan volcanic eruptions, which were already active, suddenly entered a more ferocious and voluminous phase. Geological evidence supports this idea. Precise dating shows that the volume of lava flowing from the Deccan Traps nearly doubled within 50,000 years of the asteroid impact. So, picture the full scene now. It was a 1-2 punch scenario. A planet already weakened and vulnerable from the fever of volcanism suddenly receives a devastating and abrupt blow from the sky. This blow not only brings the world to its knees with its own impact winter, but it then turns around and triggers the very same volcanoes to erupt with even greater force, preventing the Earth's ecosystems from recovering for the next 500,000 years. This is no longer the story of a lone killer or a slow death. It's the story of a coordinated conspiracy between the sky and the Earth, a compound catastrophe where one disaster exponentially intensified another. The dinosaurs might have stood a chance against one enemy, perhaps even against two separate enemies, but against the deadly alliance between these two destructive forces, there was no chance left. Interestingly, some climate models add another strange twist to this story. They suggest that the very global warming caused by the volcanoes might have partially offset the cooling effects of the impact winter. In other words, while the volcanoes were poisoning the world, they may have paradoxically buffered the planet against the most extreme cold of the impact winter, possibly preventing an even more absolute extinction. One more important question remains. Were the dinosaurs really at the peak of their power before this compound disaster, or were they already in decline? Some older studies suggested that dinosaur diversity was decreasing in the final millions of years of the Cretaceous period, but newer, more accurate research shows this is likely a statistical error caused by an incomplete fossil record from that period. New evidence from New Mexico shows that diverse and thriving dinosaur communities were going strong right up until a few 100,000 years before the impact. They weren't fading away, they were taken out of the game at their peak. So, we've moved from the simple story of a lone killer to a complex scenario of a compound catastrophe. A story in which the Earth and the sky colluded to end the 165 million year reign of the dinosaurs. This case shows us that our planet's history is not a straight, predictable line, but a series of complex events, coincidences, and feedback loops that can turn the world upside down in an instant. As the great astronomer Carl Sagan once said, "Extinction is the rule, survival is the exception." The dinosaurs learned this truth the hard way. They remind us that dominion over this planet is not eternal, and that life always hangs by a thin thread of luck and the right conditions. My dear deep divers, thank you for staying with me until the end of this incredible journey into the depths of time. We love you all. Investigating this distant past is not just a scientific curiosity, it's about finding our own place in the grand story of the cosmos. If this video has deepened your perspective on our planet's history, please give us the energy to create more journeys of discovery by liking and subscribing to the channel. And perhaps the next time you look up at the night sky, you'll remember that the story of life on this planet isn't just a story of creation, but a story of survival against forces that sometimes descend from that very sky.